Guys, welcome back to the channel. So I realized I've never used any Makeup Obsession products on my channel before to do my makeup. So today I'll be using the Makeup Obsession Peach Blush Palette, and I'll also be using the Makeup Obsession Bronzer Palette. And to top it off, I figured I'd go ahead and do my eyeshadow today using the OG Morphe / Jaclyn Hill palette. And this is what it looks like if I can open it. And this is what that palette looks like. For foundation, I'm gonna go in with the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Plus foundation. I don't know the shade, and because this is a little too dark for me, I'm also gonna go in with the Sephora matte foundation in Warm Natural 17. This is way lighter than this, so we're gonna mix them together and create our own shade. And just for reference, see how much lighter that is. That's probably too light for my skin tone, and this one's a little too dark, so we'll just mix them and it'll be fine. I've gone in already and I've already primed my face with this Blur Pang Peach Milk Blur Face Primer, and it's by the brand Peripera. I picked it up at TJ Maxx a couple months ago and it smells like a dream, like so good. So anyway, we mixed the foundation on the back of our hands and now we can apply it to our skin. I am taking one of my favorite beauty sponges. This beauty sponge is a beauty sponge by Real Techniques and can be found at any local drugstore. It's just super soft and I think it does a great job blending out the foundation. I did go a little bit overboard at first, but using the sponge, it blends out like a dream and you can fix any mistake with it. Next, I'm just going in with my Born This Way liquid concealer. We're just going to conceal any redness. I use this underneath my eyes, on top of my forehead, as well as around my nose. This concealer is pretty lightweight. It's not as thick as some of the other concealers I use. One of my favorite concealers is the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. That covers absolutely everything. This one is not that pigmented, but I do still enjoy using it. Now I'm going to be using my Fit Me powder by Maybelline. This is one of my favorite powders, loose setting powders to bake with. So what you see me doing here is just taking that loose powder on my sponge and I'm just baking underneath my eyes, making sure that concealer does not crease. And I also take this on the top of my forehead as well as the bottom of my chin. Next, I'm dipping a smaller brush inside of that powder and I'm just gonna set my eyelids so that way our shadows don't crease. You could of course use like an eyeshadow primer. I decided to opt out of that for today, so I just set my eyelid with that loose setting powder and then I go in with my Jaclyn Hill palette here and I'm gonna be using the first 2 rows of shadows. And anytime I use a shadow, I go ahead and tap off the excess on the back of my hand. I'm using these really pretty like champagne colors. I just figured that they'd be pretty soft and I don't know, I just felt like doing a neutral eye makeup look for the day. I don't usually wear a lot of shadows. This is actually pretty surprising. I'm pretty surprised with myself that I'm putting eyeshadow on, but I go in with that little darker champagne color and then I go in again with a lighter champagne color. The lighter champagne color that I'm using here can also be used to highlight. I've used it as a highlighter in the past, but I'm only putting that like towards the inner part of my lid. So that way it just looks a little bit brighter. Here I took a little darker brown shadow and I focused that on the crease area of my eyelid. I just kind of wanted to add a little bit of depth. And I went ahead and I also took a little bit of that dark shadow to fill in my eyebrows. Nothing crazy here, just kind of filling in the sparse areas. Then I went ahead, took my kabuki brush, and I just wiped off the baking powder that sat on our face this whole time. I went in with that really bright champagne color that we used on the inner part of our lid to put on the inside of my lid, so that way that would just brighten it up a little bit. And then of course I took my Rimmel Stay Matte finishing powder and I just set the rest of my face. Now it's time to bronze up our face. So I went ahead and I took my Makeup Obsession palette. This can be found at Target. I found mine at TJ Maxx, and I went ahead and I swatched the bronzer colors for you. There are two that I really like. I'm pointing to them right here, Exposed and Buff. I went ahead and I mixed them and applied them to my face. The other two colors are a little bit more shimmery, so I would probably use those as an eyeshadow color, or maybe even a highlight, but I wouldn't use it to contour my face. I am blown away with how pigmented this bronzer is. All of these bronzers. There's a lot of fallout that I got from each color, but it's nice to see that the drugstore sells such pigmented bronzers. I'd probably compare this to like a Wet n Wild bronzer too. I went ahead and I whipped out the blush palette, and here I'm swatching it for you guys too. There's a really nice like coral, peach. All these colors are super nice. Again, super pigmented, but there is a lot of fallout. I took these two colors right here. They're probably the lightest in the palette, and I just applied those to the apples of my cheeks. Again, I use the lighter brown shade that we used in our crease to kind of line the bottom of my eyelid. I find that lining the bottom of my eyelid kind of hurts me with shadows, but I tend to do it anyway because it looks so good. And then I took my Wet n Wild felt tip liner and I just lined the top of my eyelid. These are super easy to use, so if you're a beginner to lining your lids, I would highly recommend you pick up one of these little pens. They're really inexpensive and pretty foolproof. Taking a makeup remover wipe, I just go ahead and wipe my lips. This is probably the most satisfying part of doing my makeup. I go ahead and take my Maybelline Falsies mascara and I go ham on my eyelashes. I apply a very generous coat to the top and bottom of my lid. Going in with one of my favorite highlighters, this is Lunch Money by ColourPop. This is a super duper creamy pigmented highlight. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't say it's super cool tone or super warm toned, it's just pretty neutral, and I feel like it just looks so good anywhere that you put it. Next, I reach for a lip gloss. This lip gloss is by Gerard Cosmetics. They like fell off of the face of the earth after the whole Jaclyn Hill scandal, but I had this laying around and it is a super pretty like pinky color, and I thought it would just look really pretty with the natural eyes that we did. So I just applied some of that, and to finish up the makeup, I went in with my Cover FX makeup setting spray. You guys, this is the finished makeup look. I've been reaching more and more for these palettes when I'm doing my makeup at home, only because I feel like it gives me so many different options to choose from. They're super pigmented, and I like the fact that if I wanted to, I could always pop these out and put them in a Z palette or something. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.